The pregnancy test sits on the bathroom counter, its pink line impossibly bright against the white porcelain. Eleanor Whitmore's hands shake as she picks it up for the 7th time in 20 minutes. 70 years old. 70. The number echoes in her mind like a question she can't answer. But the line doesn't fade. Outside her window, Savannah's oak trees drip with Spanish moss, moving slow in the humid September air. The ceiling fan clicks overhead, tick, 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 counting seconds that suddenly feel precious. She presses her palm against her abdomen. Flat. Unchanged. Yet the test insists otherwise. Eleanor. Caleb's voice drifts up from downstairs, warm and concerned. You okay up there? She closes her eyes. 29 years old, that voice. Young enough to be her grandson. But his hands are gentle when they touch her face, and his eyes hold something she thought she'd lost when Robert died. The feeling of being seen. I'm fine, she calls back, her voice steadier than her heartbeat. She isn't fine. She's terrified, exhilarated, confused. But mostly, and this surprises her most of all, she's hopeful. The doctor's office smells like antiseptic and fear. Dr. Hannah Myers sits across from Eleanor, her expression carefully neutral as she reviews the blood work for the 3rd time. Caleb stands behind Eleanor's chair, one hand resting on her shoulder. Protective. Possessive. The hormone levels are consistent with pregnancy, Dr. Myers says slowly, each word measured. But I want to be clear, this is medically unprecedented for your age. We need additional testing to rule out. But it's real. Eleanor interrupts. Her fingers grip the armrest. The baby is real. Dr. Myers pauses, glances at her computer screen. Back to Eleanor. According to every test we've run, yes. You're approximately 8 weeks pregnant. The room tilts slightly. Eleanor feels Caleb's hand tighten on her shoulder. Anchor or warning, she can't tell which. That's impossible, Dr. Myers continues, leaning forward. You understand that, right? Postmenopausal pregnancy, without medical intervention, doesn't happen. Not at 70. So we need to investigate further. But you just said the tests confirm it. Caleb's voice is soft but firm. You've run 3 separate blood panels. You've done ultrasound. Everything shows the same thing. I know what the tests show. Dr. Myers removes her glasses, pinches the bridge of her nose. That's exactly why I'm concerned. This shouldn't be possible. Maybe, Eleanor whispers, surprised by her own boldness. Maybe it's a miracle. The word hangs in the air between them. Dr. Myers opens her mouth, closes it, finally nods, though her eyes remain troubled. Maybe, she says, but doesn't sound convinced. I'm scheduling you with a specialist in Atlanta. Dr. Chun is one of the best perinatologists in the Southeast. He'll want to see you next week. Eleanor barely hears the rest. Miracle. She's calling it a miracle, and the word feels true even as her rational mind rejects it. After Robert's death 5 years ago, after 43 years of marriage without children, after menopause and resignation and learning to live alone. Has anyone else experienced something impossible that changed everything? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me. The news spreads through Eleanor's neighborhood like morning fog. Quiet, inevitable, touching everything. Linda Carter arrives first, her casserole dish still warm from the oven. She's been Eleanor's friend since they taught together at Savannah Country Day, back when both their husbands were alive and the future stretched out predictable and safe. Eleanor. Linda sets the casserole on the kitchen counter, turns, searches Eleanor's face. Tell me it's true. It's true. Eleanor pours sweet tea into 2 glasses, ice cracking in the silence. 10 weeks now. The doctors have confirmed it 4 times. Linda doesn't laugh, doesn't smile, just stares, her mouth slightly open, the way people look at accidents they can't process. But how? They don't know. Eleanor hands her the tea, notices her own hand isn't shaking anymore. Dr. Myers called it medically unexplained. The specialist in Atlanta used the word unprecedented. And you're keeping it. The question lands softly, but carries weight. Eleanor meets her friend's eyes. Of course I'm keeping it. Eleanor. Linda sets down her glass. You're 70 years old. The risks alone. I'm aware of the risks. Are you? Linda's voice sharpens with affection and fear. What about Caleb? What does he say about all this? As if summoned, Caleb appears in the doorway. Barefoot, wearing the linen shirt Eleanor bought him last month. His dark hair is damp from the shower, curling slightly at his neck. He moves into the kitchen with the ease of someone who belongs there, sliding naturally into the space beside Eleanor. I say Eleanor's the bravest woman I've ever met. He wraps an arm around her waist, kisses her temple. The gesture is tender, claiming. Both at once. Linda watches this with an expression Eleanor can't quite read. Not disapproval exactly. Something closer to concern, wearing a polite mask. Well, Linda says carefully, I suppose congratulations are in order. But her eyes say something else entirely. That evening, Eleanor sits in the nursery. Robert's old study, really, but she started thinking of it differently now. Caleb brings her chamomile tea and kneels beside her chair, his hands covering hers. You're worrying, he says. Not a question. Linda thinks I'm crazy. Linda's scared for you. There's a difference. He lifts her hand, kisses her knuckles one by one. But you're not crazy. You're the sanest person I know. Caleb, she stops. Starts again. What if they're right? What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out together. His eyes are impossibly blue in the lamplight. You and me. Whatever comes. She wants to believe him. God, she wants to believe him so badly it aches. I never thought I'd get this chance, she whispers. After Robert died, I thought that part of my life was over. Just over. And then you. Then me. He agrees, smiling that smile that first caught her attention at the farmer's market 6 months ago, when he'd helped her carry tomatoes to her car and stay to talk about books and loneliness and second chances. She thought herself too old for romance, for desire, for hope. She'd been wrong. I love you, she tells him now, and means it with every cell in her aging body. I love you too. He rests his forehead against hers. Both of you. His hand moves to her stomach, and she covers it with her own. Outside, the evening cicadas begin their chorus. Inside, Eleanor Whitmore allows herself to believe in miracles. But 3 blocks away, in her own kitchen, Linda Carter sits with her phone in her hand, staring at Eleanor's contact information. She's been friends with Eleanor long enough to recognize when something feels wrong, even if she can't name what it is. The age gap, the timing, the way Caleb always seems to be there, answering questions before Eleanor finishes asking them. She deletes her drafted text message for the 3rd time. Types a new one, just checking in. Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. She sends it. Knows Eleanor probably won't call. That's what worries her most. At Savannah Memorial Hospital, Dr. Hannah Myers sits in her office after hours, Eleanor Whitmore's file open on her desk. She's been practicing medicine for 23 years. She's seen rare conditions, unusual presentations, cases that defied textbook explanations. But this. She picks up the ultrasound image again, studies the small shape visible in the grainy black and white. Undeniably there. Undeniably growing. Her computer screen shows Eleanor's medical history. Menopause confirmed at 52. No hormone replacement therapy. No fertility treatments. No medical intervention of any kind. Yet here is a pregnancy, confirmed by blood, confirmed by imaging, confirmed by time itself, as weeks continue to pass. Dr. Myers reaches for her phone. Stops. What would she even say? To whom? A pregnancy is a pregnancy. Unexplained doesn't mean dangerous. Unprecedented doesn't mean impossible. Except it does. In medicine, some things really are impossible. She thinks about the way Caleb stood behind Eleanor during the appointment. The way he touched her shoulder, spoke for her, corrected her when she misstated her symptoms. Nothing overtly wrong. Just careful. Controlled. Dr. Myers closes the file. She'll see Eleanor again in 2 weeks. Maybe by then the nagging feeling in her gut will have faded. Or maybe it will have names. Back in the Victorian house on Habersham Street, Eleanor lies in bed beside Caleb, listening to his breathing slow into sleep. His arm is draped across her waist, heavy and warm. She should be sleeping too. Instead, she stares at the ceiling, tracing the shadows cast by streetlight through lace curtains. A miracle, she called it. But miracles are supposed to feel like joy, aren't they? Pure and uncomplicated. This feels like joy mixed with something else. Something that tastes like copper and uncertainty. She places her hand over Caleb's where it rests on her stomach. His skin is smooth, young, unmarked by age or doubt. Thank you, She whispers to the darkness, to him, to God, to whatever force granted her this impossible gift. In his sleep, Caleb's grip tightens slightly, almost reflexively, almost like he's holding on. What do you think Eleanor should do? Is this really a miracle, or is something darker unfolding? Comment below. I want to hear your theories. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This story is just getting started, and trust me, you won't want to miss what the scans reveal. Hit that subscribe button now. Seriously, just do it. The day they first saw each other, the farmer's market had smelled like peaches and rain that Saturday morning, 6 months before the pregnancy test changed everything. Eleanor remembers because she'd almost stayed home. The sky had been threatening storms, and her knee ached the way it did when weather shifted. But Linda had insisted, "You can't spend every Saturday alone, Eleanor," and she'd gone, if only to prove she was fine. That widowhood hadn't turned her into a hermit. The tomatoes she'd selected were heirloom varieties, heavy and fragrant, too many for one person, but she bought them anyway. Some habits die hard. She was juggling 3 canvas bags in her purse when the bottom of one bag split, sending tomatoes rolling across the wet pavement. "Damn it," she'd muttered, crouching down, her knee protesting. Then he was there, kneeling beside her, gathering fruit in hands that moved quick and sure, dark hair falling across his forehead, a smile that reached his eyes. "These are too beautiful to waste," he'd said, holding up a particularly large tomato, examining it like something precious. "Cherokee purple, right? My grandmother grew these." Eleanor had blinked, surprised. Most young people, and he was young, impossibly young, didn't know tomato varieties. Didn't care. She had good taste. Eleanor managed. She did. He stood, offered his hand to help her up. His palm was warm, callous in a way that suggested actual work. "I'm Caleb." "Eleanor." His handshake lingered half a second longer than necessary. Not inappropriate, just attentive. "Let me help you to your car," he'd said. Not asked. Said it like the decision was already made, like helping her was the only logical outcome. She should have declined, should have insisted she was fine. But her knee hurt, and he was already gathering her bags, and something about his presence felt steadying in a way she hadn't experienced in years. The walk to her car had become coffee at the cafe on Broughton Street. Coffee had become 2 hours of conversation that moved from gardens to literature to loss. He'd lost his grandmother recently, he said. She'd lost Robert. Grief recognized grief. "You remind me of her," Caleb had said, his eyes holding hers across the small table. Same strength. Same way of seeing things clearly without being cruel about it. Eleanor had laughed, uncomfortable with the compliment, uncomfortable with how young his face looked in the morning light streaming through the window. "I'm old enough to be your grandmother, you know. Age is just time," he'd replied, reaching across to touch her hand briefly. "It doesn't measure anything important." She should have known then. Should have recognized the words for what they were. Practiced, perfected, deployed with surgical precision. But she'd been lonely, and he'd been there. And sometimes, loneliness makes you stupid. Now, 11 weeks pregnant, Eleanor stands in front of her bathroom mirror, studying her reflection with clinical detachment. The woman staring back has gray hair. She colors auburn every 6 weeks. Wrinkles earned through 50 years of teaching children and 20 years of managing Robert's declining health. Hands that have graded 10,000 essays and held her husband while he died, and, apparently, still have the capacity to tremble with hope at improbable possibilities. Behind her, reflected in the mirror, Caleb emerges from the shower. Water droplets trace paths down his chest, his stomach, the obvious geography of youth and health. He catches her looking and smiles. "Morning," he says, wrapping a towel around his waist, moving behind her. His arms circle her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. In the mirror, they look like a magazine advertisement for opposite ends of life spectrum. "Do you ever?" Eleanor stops, starts again. "Do you ever wonder what people think when they see us together?" No. Simple. Final. But his eyes in the mirror are watching her carefully. "Do you?" "Sometimes. Honesty feels dangerous, but necessary. Linda asked me about you yesterday. About us. About..." She gestures vaguely at her stomach. "What did you tell her?" "That you make me happy. That I love you. That the baby is a miracle." "All true." He kisses her shoulder blade, his lips warm against her skin. So what's the problem? No problem. Just. She turns in his arms to face him directly, not through reflective glass. Just what if they're right? What if I'm too old for this? What if? Eleanor. His hands cup her face, forcing her to meet his gaze. Stop. You're not too old. You're not too anything. You're exactly what you're supposed to be. He moves one hand to her abdomen. This baby? This is meant to be. I feel it. She wants to believe him, wants to trust the certainty in his voice. Okay, she whispers. Okay. He kisses her forehead. Now get dressed. We have the appointment at 10, remember? She'd forgotten. Or maybe not forgotten. Maybe pushed it to the back of her mind where scary things live until they can't be ignored anymore. The appointment. With Dr. Chun in Atlanta. The specialist who's going to tell them more about what they already know and probably things they don't want to know. Think about Eleanor's situation for a second. A 70-year-old woman, a much younger man, a pregnancy that shouldn't exist. What would you do if you were Eleanor's friend? Would you speak up or stay silent? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you're enjoying this story but haven't hit subscribe yet, what's stopping you? Click that button. Right now. You know you want to. The drive to Atlanta takes 3 hours. Pine trees and highway stretching endless on both sides. Kayla drives. He's always driving now, Eleanor realizes. When did that start? When did she stop reaching for the keys automatically? You okay? He asks, glancing over at her. His right hand leaves the steering wheel to cover hers. You've been quiet. Just thinking. About how different everything is now. 6 months ago, I was alone. Retired. Done with the productive parts of life. You know? Waiting for whatever comes next. She stares out the window at Georgia passing in green blurs. And now you have everything to live for, Caleb finishes. Is that what she has? Everything? Or has she traded one kind of loneliness for another? The kind where you're never quite alone, never quite free, never quite sure where you end and someone else's plans for you begin? She pushes the thought away. That's fear talking. Doubt. The same instinct that kept her alone for 5 years after Robert died, convinced that this stage of life was meant for solitude and quiet decline. Tell me about your grandmother again, Eleanor says, changing the subject, choosing warmth over worry. Caleb's face softens. It always does when he talks about her. What do you want to know? How she made you feel safe? He's quiet for a moment, navigating around a slow-moving truck. When he speaks, his voice carries something that sounds like genuine emotion. She never made me feel like I was too much or not enough. Whatever I was, it was okay with her. That's rare, you know? Most people want you to be something different. Something easier. Eleanor hears the subtext. You're like that too. You accept me. Except lately. She's not sure she does accept him. Or maybe she accepts him too much. Lets him answer when doctors ask her questions. Lets him decide what she should eat, when she should rest, who she should see. When did helpful become controlling? When did love become management? Dr. Chin's office occupies the 15th floor of a glass tower in Buckhead, all chrome and credentials, and barely concealed concern. He's younger than Eleanor expected, maybe 40, with steady hands and a measured voice that suggests he's delivered bad news before and knows how to pace it. Mrs. Whitmore, he says, shaking her hand, then Caleb's. Mr. Brooks, please sit. The ultrasound machine hums in the corner like something waiting. I've reviewed your file, Dr. Chun continues, settling behind his desk, his fingers steepled in front of him. I won't lie to you. This is the most unusual case I've encountered in 15 years of practice. A spontaneous pregnancy at 70, no fertility intervention, no medical explanation. But it's viable, Eleanor asks, her heart hammering against her ribs. The pregnancy is viable. Dr. Chin's expression shifts. Not quite a grimace, not quite a frown. Something in between. That's what we're here to determine. The ultrasound from Dr. Myers showed development consistent with gestational age, but we need a more detailed scan. Level 2 ultrasound. It'll take about 45 minutes. What are you looking for? Caleb asks. His hand finds Eleanor's, squeezes. Anomalies, Dr. Chun says simply. In cases like this, geriatric pregnancy beyond anything we've documented, the risk of developmental issues increases exponentially. We need to assess organ formation, skeletal structure, neural development. The whole picture. Eleanor's mouth goes dry. And if there are anomalies? Dr. Chun meets her eyes with a kind of directness she imagines he's perfected over hundreds of difficult conversations. Then we discuss options. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see what we see. The ultrasound room is dimmer than Eleanor expects. Dr. Chin explains this is normal. Darkness helps them see the screen more clearly. The technician, a woman named Sarah with efficient hands and a kind smile, applies gel to Eleanor's stomach. Cold. Shocking. Real. This might feel uncomfortable, Sarah says, positioning the transducer. Try to stay still. Eleanor focuses on the ceiling tiles. Counts them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Loses count. Starts over. Beside her, Caleb stands rigid, his hand gripping hers so tightly her fingers go numb. The screen blooms with gray shapes and shadows. Sarah moves the transducer slowly, methodically, pausing at intervals that stretch too long. Dr. Chun leans forward, studying something Eleanor can't interpret. There, Sarah says softly, adjusting the angle. And suddenly, Eleanor sees it. A shape. Small. Curled. Unmistakably human. Her baby. Her throat closes with something too big for words. After 70 years, after a lifetime of almosts and not quites, here is something impossible and perfect in hers. Then she notices the silence. Sarah has stopped talking. Dr. Chin's jaw is tight. The only sound is the machine's rhythmic beeping, counting a heartbeat Eleanor now recognizes isn't just hers. What? Eleanor whispers. What is it? Dr. Chin doesn't answer immediately. He points at the screen, traces something with his finger. Sarah zooms in, adjusts the contrast. Eleanor tries to understand what she's seeing. The curve of a spine, the shadow of a skull. But something's wrong. Something's absent. Mrs. Whitmore, Dr. Chun says carefully, each word placed like a footstep on thin ice. I need you to prepare yourself for what I'm about to tell you. Caleb's hand tightens. Eleanor can't breathe. The fetus is developing, Dr. Chun continues, but there are severe limb abnormalities. Bilateral phocomelia affecting all 4 limbs. He pauses. In non-medical terms, the baby has no hands or legs. Just partial limb structures at the shoulder and hip. The words land like stones in dark water. Eleanor hears them, understands them, rejects them all at once. No, she says, not arguing, just stating. No, I'm so sorry. Dr. Chin's voice remains steady, professional. This is extremely rare, but in combination with your age and the unexplained nature of the pregnancy, it suggests. Can it survive? Caleb interrupts. His voice is strange. Too calm. Outside the womb. Can it survive? Dr. Chin hesitates. Physically? With significant medical intervention, yes. Quality of life, however. But it can survive. Mr. Brooks, you need to understand. A child with this level of disability requires constant care, specialized equipment, multiple surgeries. The costs alone. How much? Caleb asks. Eleanor can't speak. Can't move. She's still staring at the screen where her baby, their baby, her miracle, continues existing despite what Dr. Chun just said. The heartbeat persists. Steady. Strong. Ignorant of being unwanted. No, not unwanted. She doesn't unwant it. She doesn't know what she feels. Mrs. Whitmore. Dr. Chin's voice pulls her back. Given your age and the severity of these abnormalities, termination is an option you should seriously consider. This pregnancy poses significant risks to your health and the child's prognosis. Don't, Eleanor says, finding her voice. Don't finish that sentence. But the sentence finishes itself in the silence that follows. In the way Sarah removes the transducer too gently. In the way Dr. Chen closes his notebook with finality. In the way Caleb's hand suddenly feels less like comfort and more like a restraint. So here's where I need your input. If you were in Eleanor's position, what would you do? Is love enough when a child will need this level of care? And what about Caleb? Did you notice how he's acting? Something's shifting here. Something dark. Drop your theories in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And if you're watching this story unfold but haven't subscribed yet, seriously, what are you waiting for? This is about to get so much more intense. Click that subscribe button now. You'll regret it if you don't. The parking garage beneath Dr. Chin's building smells like motor oil and desperation. Eleanor sits in the passenger seat, staring at her hands. They look older than they did this morning. Veins more prominent, skin looser, age written in every line and spot. Old enough to know better. Old enough to have avoided this entirely. Caleb hasn't started the car yet. He's gripping the steering wheel with both hands, knuckles white, breathing measured. Controlled. Like he's counting to 10 inside his head before speaking. "We need to talk about this," he finally says. "I don't want to talk." Eleanor's voice sounds foreign to her own ears. Flat. Distant. "Not yet. Eleanor. Please." She closes her eyes. "Just drive." The silence that follows is different from the comfortable quiet they used to share. This silence has teeth. It presses against her eardrums, fills her lungs, makes her feel like she's drowning in unspoken words. When Caleb starts the car, the engine rumbles through her seat, and Eleanor realizes she's shaking. The drive back to Savannah passes in fractured moments. Mile marker 73. Eleanor watches pine trees blur past her window, their shapes dissolving into green streaks. A child with no hands couldn't climb these trees, couldn't hold the branches, couldn't know what bark feels like against their palms. Mile marker 51. Caleb's phone buzzes in the cup holder. Once, twice, 3 times. He ignores it, but Eleanor sees the screen light up each time. She can't read the messages, but she notices he's angled the phone away from her. When did that start? Mile marker 29. A rest stop appears on the right. Caleb pulls off without asking, parks in the shade of a massive oak tree dripping with Spanish moss. He turns off the engine. The sudden silence is suffocating. "We need to discuss options," he says, staring straight ahead through the windshield. Eleanor laughs. Actually laughs. The sound is bitter, wrong. Options. That's what Dr. Chen called them, too. Such a sanitary word for what you really mean. I mean, we need to be realistic. Caleb turns to face her, his expression careful, constructed. "Eleanor, I love you. I love what we have together. But this," he gestures vaguely at her stomach, "this changes everything. It's a baby. Our baby. It's a baby with no hands or legs." The words come out sharp. Then he immediately softens his tone. "I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to be honest. Do you understand what this means? The constant care, the medical expenses, the equipment. You're 70 years old. I'm 29. How are we supposed to? I have money." Eleanor hears herself say it. Here's the defensiveness. "Robert's pension. The house is paid off. I have savings. This isn't about money." But his eyes flicker slightly when she mentions her finances. Just a fraction of a second. Barely noticeable. This is about reality. About what's fair to the child. What kind of life is that? Eleanor's hand moves protectively to her stomach. A life. That's what kind. A life that exists, that matters, that deserves a chance. At what cost? Caleb's voice rises. Then he catches himself, softens again. That's his pattern, Eleanor realizes. Intensity followed by immediate retreat. Pressure, then comfort. Push, then pull. "I'm sorry. I'm scared, Eleanor. Scared of what this means for us. For you." He reaches for her hand. She lets him take it, but her fingers remain limp in his grip. "Dr. Chun said termination is an option," Caleb continues, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "He said given your age and the severity of the abnormalities, most women would choose. I'm not most women." "I know." He lifts her hand, kisses it. "That's why I love you. Your strength. Your conviction. But sometimes strength means knowing when to let go." The words sound rehearsed. Prepared. Like he's been practicing this conversation in his head since the moment the scan revealed what it revealed. "I'm not letting go," Eleanor says. "I'm keeping the baby." Caleb's expression doesn't change, but something shifts behind his eyes. Something Eleanor can't quite name. He releases her hand, starts the car. "Okay," he says quietly, "if that's what you want." But the way he says it doesn't sound like agreement. It sounds like a decision postponed. Have you ever had to make an impossible choice? Where every option felt wrong, but doing nothing wasn't an option either. Eleanor's facing that right now. What would you do? Comment below. I genuinely want to know. And if you're following this story but haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Seriously, we're about to go somewhere dark, and you need to be here for it. Hit that subscribe button before you forget. Back in Savannah, the house feels different. Smaller. The walls seem closer together, the air thicker, harder to breathe. Eleanor goes straight to the nursery. Still Robert's study. Really? But she's already started calling it the nursery in her mind. She stands in the doorway, looking at the empty room. The desk where Robert used to grade papers. The bookshelf lined with medical texts from his days as a nurse practitioner. The window overlooking the garden where his roses still bloom, tended now by a service she pays monthly because she can't bear to let them die. "What would you tell me to do?" she whispers to the ghost of her husband. "If you were here, what would you say?" But Robert isn't here. He's been gone 5 years, and the silence that answers her question is absolute. Behind her, Caleb appears. She hears his footsteps, bare feet on hardwood, deliberate and soft. He wraps his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. The gesture should feel comforting. It doesn't. "I called a contractor while you were in here," he says. "Guy who does accessibility modifications. Ramps, widened doorways, modified bathrooms. If we're doing this, we need to do it right." Eleanor stiffens. That's very thoughtful. I also looked into specialists. Pediatric orthopedists, occupational therapists, support groups for parents of children with limb differences. He's speaking quickly now, listing items like he's reading from notes. "There's a lot of resources available. More than I thought." She turns in his arms to face him. "When did you do all this research?" "In the parking garage while you were in the bathroom at the rest stop. And just now while you were in here." He smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "I figure if we're committed to this, I should know what we're facing." "We? Of course we." He touches her face. "You didn't think I'd abandon you, did you?" "Eleanor, I'm here. Whatever you decide, I'm here." The words are right. Perfect even. So why do they feel like a trap? "I need to lie down," Eleanor says. "I'm exhausted." "Of course. Come on." He guides her toward their bedroom, his hand at the small of her back. "You rest. I'll make dinner." She lets him lead her, lets him tuck her into bed like she's the child, not the woman carrying one. He pulls the curtains closed, dims the lights, kisses her forehead. "Sleep," he whispers. "Everything's going to be okay." But when he closes the door behind him, Eleanor doesn't sleep. She stares at the ceiling, counting the shadows cast by afternoon light filtering through lace curtains. A baby with no hands or legs. She tries to imagine it, feeding a child who can't hold a spoon, teaching them to navigate a world built for bodies that work differently, watching them struggle with tasks other children do without thinking. But then she imagines the alternative. The absence. The silence where a child's voice should be. The empty nursery. The knowledge that she chose elimination over difficulty, convenience over love. No. She places her hand on her stomach, feels nothing yet, but knows something's there. Growing. Existing. Depending on her. "I won't give up on you," she whispers. "I promise." Downstairs, she hears Caleb moving through the kitchen. Cabinet doors opening and closing. The clatter of pots. Normal sounds. Domestic sounds. The sounds of a life continuing despite everything. But then she hears something else. His voice, low and urgent, speaking to someone on the phone. She can't make out the words, but the tone is unmistakable. Frustrated. Tense. Arguing. Eleanor slides out of bed, moves to the door, cracks it open just enough to hear better. "Not that simple," Caleb is saying. She's committed to keeping it. Silence. Someone responding on the other end. "I know what we discussed. I'm working on it." His voice drops lower. "Just give me more time." More silence. "Look, the doctor already planted the seed about termination. I'll keep reinforcing it. Gradually. She trusts me. It's going to take more work than I thought." Eleanor's blood goes cold. She retreats from the door, crawls back into bed, pulls the covers up to her chin. Her mind races, trying to reframe what she just heard into something innocent, something explainable. But the words won't reshape themselves. They sit in her mind exactly as she heard them. "She trusts me. This is going to take more work than I thought." Work. He called convincing her to terminate their baby work. When Caleb comes upstairs 20 minutes later, carrying a tray with soup and crackers, Eleanor pretends to be asleep. She keeps her breathing steady, her eyes closed, her body still. He sets the tray on the nightstand, sits on the edge of the bed. She feels his weight shift the mattress, feels his hand brush hair from her face. "I'm sorry," he whispers, and for a moment she thinks he knows she heard. "I'm sorry it has to be this way." Then he stands, leaves, closes the door with a soft click. Eleanor opens her eyes and stares at the soup cooling on the nightstand. She doesn't touch it. That night, Eleanor lies awake long after Caleb falls asleep beside her. His arm is draped across her waist. Anchor or restraint, she still can't tell. His breathing is deep and even, the breathing of someone with a clear conscience, or the breathing of someone who's good at pretending. Her phone sits on the nightstand, glowing softly with unread messages. She picks it up carefully, slowly, trying not to disturb the bed. 3 texts from Linda. How did it go? Call me when you can. Eleanor, please respond. Eleanor types, tomorrow. I'll explain tomorrow. She deletes it before sending. What would she even say? That she overheard her boyfriend, her much younger boyfriend, the man she's been calling a miracle for 6 months, discussing strategies to convince her to terminate their baby? That she's starting to suspect this entire pregnancy might have been part of a plan she didn't know she was participating in? No, that sounds crazy. She sounds crazy. Maybe she's crazy. 70 years old and pregnant, trusting a man young enough to be her grandson, believing in miracles when her whole life has taught her that miracles are just another word for things that hurt you later. Eleanor sets the phone down, closes her eyes, and tries to remember what her life felt like before Caleb, before the pregnancy, before hope became something dangerous. But she can't remember. Those months have blurred into a gray haze of loneliness that feels almost comfortable compared to this sharp-edged fear. Beside her, Caleb shifts in his sleep. His arm tightens around her waist. And Eleanor Whitmore, 70 years old and carrying an impossible child, finally understands that she's not safe. She's trapped. If you were Eleanor's friend and you suspected something was wrong, what would you do? Would you confront Caleb? Call the police? Or would you convince yourself you were overreacting? Drop your answer in the comments. And listen, if you're not subscribed yet, you're missing the point. This story is about to get dark. Subscribe now. You'll kick yourself if you don't. Morning comes with the smell of coffee and the sound of Caleb humming in the kitchen. Eleanor descends the stairs slowly, her hand trailing along the banister Robert installed 30 years ago. Solid oak. Reliable. Unlike everything else in her life right now. Caleb stands at the stove, flipping pancakes. He's shirtless, wearing only pajama pants that hang low on his hips. The morning light from the window catches the muscles of his back, the youth evident in every line of his body. He turns when he hears her, smiles that smile that first convinced her she wasn't too old for this. Morning, beautiful, he says. I made your favorite, blueberry pancakes, and I already took your prenatal vitamin out. It's by your orange juice. Eleanor moves to the table, sits, looks at the place, setting arranged perfectly. Plate, fork, knife, napkin folded into a triangle. The vitamin, large, horse pill-sized, sits beside a glass of fresh squeezed orange juice. You didn't have to do all this, she says. I wanted to. He brings over a plate stacked with pancakes, sets it in front of her with a flourish. You need to keep your strength up. For the baby. For the baby. The baby with no hands or legs. The baby he was discussing on the phone yesterday, like a problem to be solved. Eleanor picks up her fork, sets it down. Caleb, we need to talk about yesterday. The scan. He sits across from her with his own plate. I know it was a lot of process, but we're going to figure this out together, okay? I've already been researching. That's not what I mean. Eleanor forces herself to look directly at him. I heard you on the phone last night, while I was upstairs. The brief pause before he responds tells her everything. Half a second too long. His expression carefully reconstructed into confusion. On the phone. Eleanor, I wasn't on the phone. Yes, you were. I heard you. Talking to someone about the baby, about convincing me. Eleanor. He reaches across the table, takes her hand. His thumb rubs circles on her palm. The same gesture he always uses when he's trying to calm her. Honey, I think you had a dream. You were exhausted. Emotional. Sometimes our minds play tricks. It wasn't a dream. Are you sure? His voice is so gentle, so reasonable. Because I was here all evening. I made dinner, brought you soup, checked on you twice. I never made any phone calls. You can check my phone if you want. He pulls it from his pocket, unlocks it, slides it across the table. Go ahead. Check my call history. Eleanor stares at the phone. Of course there won't be anything there. He's had all night to delete evidence. But the way he's offering it, So openly, so transparently, it makes her doubt herself. I heard you, she says, but her voice is weaker now. You heard something, Caleb agrees. Maybe the TV? I had the news on while I was cooking. They were talking about some political thing. Lots of arguing, people saying we need more time, and stuff like that. Could that be what you heard? Could it? Eleanor tries to replay the memory, but it's already becoming fuzzy around the edges. She'd been exhausted, emotional, half asleep. Maybe. No. She knows what she heard. But Caleb is looking at her with such concern, such love, such hurt that she would doubt him. And the phone is right there, unlocked, offered freely. Maybe, she whispers. Maybe I was confused. It's okay. He comes around the table, kneels beside her chair, wraps his arms around her. You're under so much stress. It's understandable. But Eleanor, I need you to trust me. I'm on your side. Always. She wants to trust him. God, she wants to believe that last night was just exhaustion and fear playing tricks on her mind. So she does what fear often makes people do. She chooses the comfortable lie over the uncomfortable truth. I'm sorry, she says into his shoulder. You're right. I'm not thinking clearly. Don't apologize. He kisses the top of her head. You're carrying a miracle. That's exhausting work. Now eat your pancakes. Doctor's orders. He winks, returns to his seat, cuts into his own breakfast like nothing happened. And Eleanor picks up her fork, puts a bite of pancake in her mouth, and swallows the doubt along with the blueberries. Think about this for a second. How many times have you doubted yourself because someone made you feel crazy for trusting your instincts? Eleanor's doing it right now, swallowing her fear because questioning it feels harder than accepting it. Have you been there? Tell me in the comments. And for the love of everything, if you're invested in this story, subscribe. We're nowhere near done. Click that button now. The days that follow establish a rhythm Eleanor doesn't notice until it's already controlling her life. Kayla begins attending all her appointments. Not just attending, managing them. He calls to confirm times. He drives. He checks her in. When doctors ask Eleanor questions, he answers before she can speak. She's been tired but eating well. No unusual pain, right, Eleanor? Her last blood pressure reading was slightly elevated, but we've been monitoring at home. Eleanor sits in exam rooms and listens to Caleb describe her body, her symptoms, her experience. And she doesn't correct him because it's easier to let him handle things. Because arguing takes energy she doesn't have. Because somewhere along the way, she stopped trusting her own perceptions and started trusting his instead. Linda calls 3 times. Eleanor responds to none of them. The texts escalate. Eleanor, you're worrying me. Just send a quick message so I know you're okay. Then, I drove by her house yesterday. Saw Caleb's car, but not yours. Are you feeling all right? Finally, if you don't respond by tomorrow, I'm coming over. Eleanor types a response at 11:47 p.m., lying in bed while Caleb sleeps beside her. I'm fine. Just tired. The pregnancy is taking a lot out of me. I'll call soon. Promise. She deletes promise before sending. You shouldn't make promises you won't keep. Linda responds immediately. Can I come visit? Bring lunch? Eleanor stares at the message for 5 full minutes. Then types, not right now. I'm not feeling up to visitors. But thank you. 3 dots appear. Disappear. Appear again. Finally. Okay. But I'm here if you need me. Anytime. Eleanor sets down the phone and stares at the ceiling. When did her friend become someone she had to keep at a distance? When did privacy become isolation? She knows the answer. She just doesn't want to admit it. The next morning, Eleanor wakes to find Caleb already dressed, sitting in the chair by the window, scrolling through his phone with an expression she's never seen before. Concentration. Calculation. Something harder than the soft gentleness he usually shows her. What are you looking at? She asks. He looks up, and the expression vanishes so quickly she wonders if she imagined it. Just checking news. How'd you sleep? Fine. She sits up, and pain shoots through her lower back. She gasps. Immediately, Caleb is beside her. What's wrong? Just my back. It's been aching lately. That's normal for pregnancy. His hands move to her shoulders, begin massaging. Strong fingers, knowing exactly where to press. All that extra weight, the change in posture. I'll make you an appointment with a chiropractor. I can make my own appointments. The words come out sharper than she intended. Caleb's hand still. Of course you can. I'm just trying to help. I know. I'm sorry. She reaches back, touches his hand. I feel like I'm losing control of everything. You're not losing control. You're just accepting help. There's a difference. He resumes massaging, and Eleanor lets her head fall forward, lets the pressure of his hands work the knots from her muscles. What if I'm making a mistake? She whispers. About what? About keeping the baby. About thinking I can do this. About, she stops. Can't say the rest. Can't say about trusting you. Eleanor. Caleb moves to kneel in front of her, takes both her hands in his. Look at me. She does. You're not making a mistake. You're being brave. That baby needs you. Needs us. And yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, there will be challenges. But we can handle it. Together. His eyes are so sincere. So blue. So convincing. Together. Eleanor repeats. Always. He kisses her forehead. Now, I'm going to run to the store. We're out of milk, and I want to pick up some of those cookies you like. The lemon ones. Will you be okay here for an hour? An hour alone. When was the last time she had an hour alone? Yes, she says, and realizes how desperate she sounds for solitude. Yes, I'll be fine. Good. He stands, grabs his wallet and keys. Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. Then he's gone, and the house falls into blessed silence. Eleanor sits for a moment, just breathing, just existing without someone managing her existence. Then she moves. She goes to Caleb's desk, the small one in the corner of the living room where he sometimes works on his laptop. She's never looked through it before, never had reason to. But now, with doubt eating at her like acid, she needs to know. The first drawer contains bills. Electric, water, internet, all in her name. But she notices they're being paid automatically from her account. When did she set that up? She doesn't remember authorizing it. The second drawer has notebooks. She opens one. It's full of calculations. Numbers. Lists. Estimated monthly care. $8,000 to $12,000. Specialized equipment. $50,000 plus initial. Modifications to house. $75,000. Eleanor's assets. Paid house. $485,000 value. Pension. $3,200 per MO. Savings. $247,000. Life insurance. $500,000. Verify beneficiary. Eleanor's hands shake as she reads. He's calculated everything. Every cost. Every expense. And beside it, her assets. Her worth. Reduced to numbers. She flips the page. Find a printed email from someone named Marcus. Patience. These things take time. You knew that going in. Stay focused on the long game. Another email. If she's being difficult, remind her of the risks. Health complications at her age are extremely common. Sometimes nature takes care of these problems on its own. Eleanor's vision blurs. She grips the edge of the desk to keep from falling. The front door opens. Caleb's voice. Forgot my phone. He stops in the doorway, seeing her at his desk, the notebook open in her hands. For a moment, neither of them moves. Then Caleb's expression shifts through several emotions too quickly to track. Surprise, anger, calculation, before landing on hurt. Eleanor, he says softly. What are you doing? She holds up the notebook. Her voice won't work. She just points at the numbers. At the emails. At the evidence of his calculation. That's not. He steps toward her. Eleanor, let me explain. Explain what? Her voice cracks. Explain why you've calculated my net worth. Why you're getting emails about patience and waiting for nature to solve problems. It's not what it looks like. Then what is it? She's shaking now, full body tremors. Tell me what this is, Caleb. Make me understand. He runs his hand through his hair. Paces. Finally stops and looks at her with an expression that might be honesty or might be the best performance she's ever seen. I was trying to figure out if we could afford this, he says. The baby with all its needs. I was doing research, trying to be responsible. Those numbers, yes, they look bad. But I was trying to protect you from stress, trying to handle the logistics myself. And the emails. From Marcus. My brother. He thinks. Caleb swallows. He thinks I'm making a mistake. Being with you. The age difference. The pregnancy. He's been telling me to leave, to stop playing house with someone old enough to be my grandmother. That's what he means by the long game. He thinks I'm wasting my youth. It could be true. It's plausible enough. But Eleanor's instincts, the ones she's been ignoring for weeks, scream that it's a lie. "I want you to leave," she says quietly. Caleb's face goes pale. "What? Leave? Just for tonight? I need space to think." "Eleanor, please. Go." She's not asking anymore. Now, for a moment, she thinks he'll refuse. Thinks he'll argue or plead, or use that voice that always makes her doubt herself. But instead, he nods, picks up his phone, walks to the door. He pauses there, hand on the doorknob, and looks back at her with an expression she can't read. "I love you," he says. "Everything I've done has been because I love you." Then he leaves, and Eleanor Whitmore stands alone in her house, holding evidence of betrayal, wondering how love and calculation can exist in the same handwriting. Okay, real talk. How many of you saw this coming? How many of you have been screaming at Eleanor to wake up? Well, she's starting to. But is it too late? Comment now. And seriously, if you haven't subscribed yet, you're watching a psychological thriller unfold and choosing not to see how it ends. That's insane. Hit that subscribe button right now. Don't make me come find you. Eleanor doesn't sleep that night. She sits in the nursery, still can't stop calling it that, even now, with Caleb's notebook open in her lap and her phone casting a pale glow across pages of calculations. Outside, Savannah's night sounds filter through the window. Cicadas, distant traffic, a dog barking 3 houses down. Normal sounds for a night that feels anything but normal. She reads the emails again and again, trying to find innocent explanations, trying to reshape words into something that doesn't feel like evidence of a conspiracy she's been living inside for 6 months. Stay focused on the long game. Sometimes nature takes care of these problems on its own. What does that mean? What problems? The baby? Or her? At 2:47 a.m., Eleanor opens her laptop, the one she hasn't touched in weeks because Caleb always offers to handle her emails and browsing. She types with shaking fingers. Caleb Brooks, Savannah, Georgia. The search returns his Facebook profile. Professional-looking photo. Bio says he's a life coach and wellness consultant. Eleanor has never asked about his work, never questioned why he seems to have so much free time, never wondered how he pays for anything. Because he doesn't pay for anything. She does. She clicks through his photos. Most are recent, with her. Older ones show him with other people. Other women. Always older. Always well-dressed. Always smiling that same careful smile. One photo catches her eye. Caleb with his arm around a woman who must be in her 60s. Gray hair, expensive jewelry, warm expression. The caption reads, "Life's too short not to appreciate the wisdom that comes with age." #blessed #gratitude. Posted 2 years ago. Eleanor clicks on the woman's profile. Patricia Henderson. According to her timeline, she was dating Caleb for 8 months. Then abruptly the photos stop. Her last post is from a year and a half ago. Sometimes you have to choose yourself. New chapter starting now. Eleanor searches Patricia's name with obituary. Nothing. So she's still alive. Just done with Caleb. Or he was done with her. She searches the names of other women in his older photos. Finds 3 more. All older. All seemingly well off. All relationships that ended suddenly, without clear explanation on social media. Eleanor's stomach turns. She opens a new search tab. Types. Elder financial abuse signs. The list that appears makes her throat close. Isolating the victim from friends and family. Taking control of finances gradually. Making important decisions without consultation. Undermining the victim's confidence and judgment. Creating dependency. Check. 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 At 4:15 a.m., Eleanor's phone buzzes. A text from Caleb. "Can't sleep. Thinking about you. I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk in the morning? Please." She stares at the message. Doesn't respond. Another text. "I know you're awake. I can see you're online. Eleanor, please. Let me explain properly. Face to face." How does he know she's online? She looks at her Facebook, realizes she's still logged in, still showing active. She closes the laptop quickly, heart hammering. Another text. "I love you. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you found, there's an explanation. Just give me a chance." Eleanor turns off her phone. In the silence that follows, she places her hand on her stomach. 14 weeks now, almost to the second trimester. The baby that shouldn't exist, growing inside a body that should have stopped creating life decades ago. A miracle, she called it. But what if miracles are just manipulation wearing hope's face? Morning arrives gray and cold, unusual for Georgia in October. Eleanor hasn't moved from the nursery. She's still sitting in Robert's old chair, still holding Caleb's notebook, still trying to make sense of the wreckage of her life. At 7:30 a.m., someone knocks on the front door. Eleanor doesn't answer. The knock comes again, more insistent. Then Linda's voice. "Eleanor, I know you're in there. Your car's in the driveway. Open up, or I'm using the spare key you gave me." The spare key. Eleanor had forgotten about that. Gave it to Linda 5 years ago, after Robert died, in case of emergencies. This qualifies. Eleanor descends the stairs slowly, her body aching from sitting all night. She opens the door. Linda takes one look at her and gasps. "Jesus, Eleanor, you look like hell. Come in," Eleanor says. Her voice sounds like rust. They sit in the kitchen. Linda makes coffee, strong, the way they used to drink it in the teacher's lounge between classes. She sets a mug in front of Eleanor and sits across from her, waiting. "Tell me," Linda says finally. And Eleanor does. All of it. The pregnancy, the scan, the diagnosis, the notebook, the calculations, the emails, the pattern of women in Caleb's past. Everything spills out in a torrent of words that taste like betrayal. When she finishes, Linda is quiet for a long moment. Then she reaches across the table and takes Eleanor's hand. "You need to report this," Linda says. "To the police. This is, Eleanor, this is elder abuse. Financial exploitation. Maybe worse. I don't have proof. Just numbers and emails that could mean anything. He has explanations for everything. That's what they do. They always have explanations." Linda squeezes her hand. "But you know, deep down, you know something's wrong. Trust that." Eleanor pulls her hand back. "I'm 70 years old and pregnant with a baby that has no hands or legs. I trusted my judgment, and look where it got me." "You trusted someone who manipulated you. That's not the same as bad judgment. That's being human." Linda's voice is fierce. "Eleanor, listen to me. You're one of the smartest women I know. The fact that he fooled you doesn't make you stupid. It makes him dangerous. What do I do? First, you don't let him back in this house. Second, you call a lawyer. Third," Linda pauses. "Third, you make decisions about the pregnancy based on what's actually best for you. Not what Caleb wants. Not what anyone else thinks. You." Eleanor looks down at her coffee. Steam rises in delicate spirals. "I don't know what's best for me anymore. Then we figure out together. That's what friends do." Linda pulls out her phone. "I'm calling my lawyer. David Chun. He specializes in elder law. He'll know what to do." "Linda, no arguments. This is happening." Linda is already dialing. "You gave me a spare key for emergencies. This is the emergency." Eleanor wants to argue. Wants to say she can handle this herself. But she's so tired. So frightened. So completely out her depth. So she nods and lets her friend take charge. What would you do if your friend was in this situation? Would you push them to act, or would you respect their choice to handle it themselves? There's no right answer here. Just impossible options. Tell me in the comments. And if you're still not subscribed, why? This is a story about trust, manipulation, and survival. You need to see how it ends. Subscribe. Now, David Chin meets them at Eleanor's house at 11 a.m. He's younger than Eleanor expected. Maybe 45, with kind eyes and a briefcase that looks expensive. He sits at Eleanor's dining table and listens to her story without interrupting, taking occasional notes on a yellow legal pad. When she finishes, he sets down his pen and looks at her directly. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm going to be blunt. This situation has several concerning elements. The pattern of behavior, the financial calculations, the isolation tactics. These are textbook signs of elder financial abuse. Possibly worse." "What do you mean, worse?" David exchanges a glance with Linda. "The pregnancy itself. You said it's medically impossible. Unexplained. Have you considered that it might not be as unexplained as the doctors think?" Eleanor's blood goes cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that there are ways to induce pregnancy. Hormonal manipulation. Fertility drugs. Even artificial insemination. If someone had access to your food, your drinks, your medications." "No." Eleanor stands up, her chair scraping against hardwood. "No, that's insane. He wouldn't he?" David's voice is gentle but firm. Mrs. Whitmore, you've just told me about a man who calculated your net worth, discussed waiting for nature to solve problems, and has a history of relationships with older, wealthy women that end abruptly. A pregnancy would tie you to him legally. Give him claims to your assets. Create dependency. It's not insane. It's calculated. Eleanor's legs feel weak. She sits back down. The doctors tested me. Everything was natural. They would have found evidence of drugs or manipulation. Not necessarily. Depending on the method and timing, it could be undetectable by the time you got tested. David leans forward. I'm not saying this is definitely what happened. I'm saying it's a possibility you need to consider, especially given everything else. Linda reaches over, takes Eleanor's hand again. Eleanor, you need to protect yourself. Legally, financially, physically. Ow. David opens his briefcase, pulls out papers. First, we file for protective order, based on the pattern of coercive control and financial exploitation. Second, we freeze your assets. Any joint accounts, any automatic payments, everything stops until we know the full scope of what he's had access to. Third, we document everything. Every email, every text, every conversation. Build a case. A case for what? For prosecution, if it comes to that. For protecting your assets. For making sure whatever happens with a pregnancy, you're making decisions free from his influence. Eleanor looks at the papers in front of her. Legal documents with her name on them. Papers that will officially declare her a victim. Is that what she is? A victim? Or is she a woman who made choices? Bad choices. Maybe, but still choices. And now has to live with the consequences? I need time to think, she says. Eleanor. Linda starts. I need time. Eleanor's voice is firmer now. This is my life. My decision. And I need to think about it without everyone pushing me. David nods slowly. I understand. But Mrs. Whitmore, time is a luxury you may not have. If Mr. Brooks realizes you're onto him, if he suspects you're taking legal action, then what? What do you think he'll do? The question hangs in the air. Nobody answers it, because the answer is too frightening to say out loud. That afternoon, Eleanor's phone rings. Caleb's name on the screen. She lets it go to voicemail, but she listens to the message. Eleanor, please. I know you're scared. I know what you found looks bad, but I need you to hear my side. Face to face. Not through lawyers or friends who don't know the full story. Just you and me. The way we've always done things. Please. Come to the park where we first met. 6 p.m. I'll wait. I love you. Eleanor plays it 3 times. Listens to the sincerity in his voice. The pain. The love. Real or performed. She can't tell anymore. At 5:45 p.m., Eleanor leaves the house. Linda calls her cell. Eleanor declines it. Text back. I'm okay. Need to do this. We'll call you after. She drives to Forsyth Park, where 6 months ago Caleb helped her pick up tomatoes and change her life. The sun is setting, casting long shadows through the moss-draped oaks. The fountain at the center of the park catches the golden light, turns it liquid and warm. Caleb waits on the bench where they had their first coffee. He stands when he sees her, but doesn't approach. Just waits for her to come to him. Eleanor sits on the opposite end of the bench. Maintains distance. Maintains clarity. Thank you for coming, Caleb says. His eyes are red. He looks like he hasn't slept either. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. But you did. That means something. Eleanor doesn't respond. Just waits. Caleb takes a breath. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not. He stops. Starts again. Everything with us has been real. I swear. My feelings for you, the connection we have, that's all real. But I haven't been honest about everything. He turns to face her fully. I have money problems. Bad ones. Debt from my 20s, some bad investments, a bankruptcy I never told you about. When I met you, yes, I noticed you were comfortable. Financially. And yes, part of me thought maybe being with you could help stabilize my life. At least he's admitting something. Eleanor stays quiet. But then I fell in love with you. Caleb continues. Really in love. And the pregnancy. Eleanor, I was shocked as anyone. I didn't plan that. Didn't cause it. It just happened. The calculations in your notebook were me trying to figure out if I could support a child with special needs. If we could. I was trying to be realistic about what this life would cost. I wasn't. He swallows. I wasn't planning to hurt you. The emails from Marcus are from my brother, who's an asshole and thinks I'm scamming you. I'm not. But he's convinced I am, so he keeps sending me these messages about staying focused and not blowing it by actually developing feelings. He thinks I'm running a con. I'm not. Eleanor studies his face, looks for tells, for micro-expressions that reveal lies. She sees earnestness, pain, fear of losing her, real or performed. I want to believe you, Eleanor says quietly. I do. But Caleb, I've seen your history. The other women. The pattern. There's no pattern. There are women I dated who happen to be older. Because I'm attracted to maturity, to intelligence, to life experience. Not bank accounts. He reaches toward her, stops just short of touching her hand. Eleanor, please. I know I've made mistakes. I know I should have been more open about my financial situation. But I'm not a monster. I'm just a man who fell in love with someone unexpected and is terrified of losing her. The words are perfect. Too perfect. I need time, Eleanor says. I need to think about all of this without you in my house, in my space, influencing my decisions. Caleb nods. I understand. Take all the time you need. But Eleanor, his voice cracks slightly. Don't shut me out completely. I'm the father of that baby. Whatever else I am, whatever mistakes I've made, that's true. I want to be part of this child's life. Part of your life. Eleanor stands. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk again. She walks away, feeling his eyes on her back. Gets in her car. Drives home. In her rearview mirror, she sees Caleb still sitting on the bench, head in his hands. Broken or calculating. She still can't tell. Here's the million-dollar question. Is Caleb telling the truth? Is he a desperate man who made mistakes, or a predator who's adjusting his strategy? I want to take. Comment below. And listen, we're building to something huge. If you're not subscribed, you're going to lose the thread. Hit that button. Do it now. Don't make me beg. Please. Eleanor doesn't call him. 3 days pass. Then 5. Then a week. She sleeps in her bed alone. Makes her own meals. Attends appointments by herself. Linda checks in twice daily. But Eleanor assures her she's fine. She's thinking she needs space. She's not fine. She's unraveling. At night, she lies awake and calculates. The baby is 16 weeks now. In Georgia, the cutoff for termination is 20 weeks without medical justification. She has 4 weeks to decide if the diagnosis of severe disability counts as justification. For weeks to choose between impossible futures. Caleb texts every day. Not demanding. Just checking in. Thinking of you. Hope you're feeling okay. Saw something today that reminded me of you. A blue heron in the marsh. Beautiful and solitary. She doesn't respond. But she doesn't block him either. On day 9, Eleanor wakes to find blood on her sheets. Not much. Just spotting. But enough to send terror through her entire body. She calls Dr. Myers immediately. The nurse tells her to come in right away. Eleanor drives herself to the office, hands shaking on the steering wheel. She doesn't call Linda. Doesn't call Caleb. This moment feels private. Sacred. Terrifying. Dr. Myers performs an ultrasound immediately. The baby is still there. Still moving. Still existing despite everything. The spotting is concerning, but not immediately dangerous. Dr. Myers says, her eyes on the monitor. Your blood pressure is elevated, though. 160/95. That's preeclampsia range. What does that mean? It means your body is under significant stress. The pregnancy is taking a toll. Dr. Myers turns to face her. Eleanor, I need to be direct. Given your age, the fetal abnormalities, and now developing complications, continuing this pregnancy poses serious risks to your health. Stroke, organ failure, death. The word sits in the room like a stone. Death. How serious? Eleanor whispers. Serious enough that I'm recommending termination. Not for quality of life issues with the fetus, though those exist, but for your health. You're in danger. Eleanor's hand moves to her stomach. How much time do I have to decide? Days. Maybe a week. But Eleanor, every day you wait increases the risk. Eleanor drives home in a fog. Parks in her driveway. Sits in the car for 20 minutes before she can make herself move. When she finally enters the house, Caleb is sitting on her front steps. She stops. How did you? You didn't answer my texts. I got worried. He stands slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. I wasn't going to come in. Just wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm not okay. The words come out before she can stop them. I'm bleeding. My blood pressure's dangerous. The doctor says I could die if I don't terminate. Caleb goes pale. Eleanor, I have to decide. Days, maybe a week. Choose between the baby's life and mine. Then choose yours. He says it immediately, no hesitation. Eleanor, choose yourself. Please. She looks at him, studies his face, searches for calculation, for relief, for hidden agenda. She sees only fear. Is that what you've wanted all along? She asks. For me to terminate? Is that the problem your brother's emails mentioned? The one nature was supposed to solve? No. He steps toward her. God, no. Eleanor, I know you don't believe me, but I want whatever you want. If you choose to continue the pregnancy, I'll support you. If you choose to end it, I'll support you. But I don't want you to die. That's not. His voice breaks. That's the one thing I can't support. You dying. Eleanor feels something crack inside her. All the doubt, all the fear, all the evidence of betrayal. It's still there. But so is this. Caleb, standing on her porch, crying actual tears at the thought of her death. Real or performed? She doesn't know. Maybe she'll never know. Come inside, she says quietly. They sit at the kitchen table. Eleanor makes tea with shaking hands. Caleb watches her in silence. Tell me the truth, Eleanor finally says. All of it. No more carefully crafted explanations. Just truth. Caleb is quiet for a long moment. Then, I needed money when I met you. Desperately. And yes, I noticed you were wealthy. Stable. Everything I wasn't. I thought maybe we could help each other. You get companionship. I get security. It was transactional at first. Eleanor's chest tightens, but she nods. Go on. But then I actually got to know you. And you are nothing like I expected. You're funny and sharp, and you see through bullshit, including mine. And I fell in love. Really in love. For the first time in my life. He looks directly at her. The pregnancy shocked me. Terrified me. I didn't know if it was a blessing or a disaster. So yes, I calculated costs. I researched options. I tried to figure out if we could handle this. The emails from Marcus are from my brother, who thinks I'm an idiot for staying with you. He thinks I should take what I can and leave. Find someone younger, easier to manipulate. He sends me those messages to remind me I'm wasting my youth. His words, not mine. Did you ever consider it? Taking what you could and leaving? Caleb doesn't answer immediately. Eleanor appreciates the hesitation. It feels more honest than a quick denial would. At the beginning? Maybe. For a second. But Eleanor, I'm here now. You kicked me out, and I'm still here. Sitting on your porch. Waiting for you to decide if I'm worth trusting. That's not the behavior of someone trying to scam you. It's not. Eleanor has to admit that. A con artist would have moved on by now. Found an easier mark. Unless this is the longest con of all. I don't know what to do. Eleanor whispers. About the baby. About you. About any of this. Then let me help you figure it out. Not by making decisions for you. By being here while you make them yourself. Eleanor looks at this man. This young, beautiful, possibly dangerous man. And makes a choice. Okay, she says. Stay. But Caleb, if I find out you're lying, if there's any more deception, there won't be. I promise. Promises. Eleanor has learned they're just words wearing hope's face. But she needs someone. And he's here. And her time is running out. So she lets him stay. That night, they sleep in the same bed but don't touch. Two separate people occupying the same space. Each waiting for the other to reveal something true. At 3 a.m., Eleanor wakes to Caleb's hand on her stomach. I can feel it moving, he whispers in the darkness. The baby. It's real. Eleanor places her hand over his. Feels the small flutter beneath both their palms. Real. Yes. The baby is real. But so is the danger. So is her failing blood pressure. So is the choice that's coming, inevitable as sunrise. Caleb, she whispers, what if I choose wrong? There is no wrong. There's just what you can live with. But Eleanor knows better. Some choices are wrong. Some decisions destroy you no matter which path you take. She just has to figure out which destruction she can survive. At Dr. Meyer's office 2 days later, Eleanor signs a consent form. Her hand shakes, so badly the signature is barely legible. You're sure about this? Dr. Myers asks gently. Eleanor isn't sure about anything. But her blood pressure was 170/100 this morning. She's developing protein in her urine. Her organs are failing slowly, steadily, because her 70-year-old body was never meant to carry life. I'm sure, she lies. The procedure is scheduled for Friday. 3 days away. Caleb holds her hand in the waiting room. Doesn't speak. Doesn't try to convince her she's making the right choice. Just sits beside her, solid and warm and present. When they get to the car, Eleanor can't stop crying. I'm killing our baby, she sobs. I'm choosing myself over our child. You're choosing to live, Caleb says, pulling her close. That's not the same thing. But it feels the same. It feels like the worst kind of selfishness. The kind where survival requires sacrifice. That evening, Linda comes over. She brings wine she knows Eleanor can't drink and sits with her friend in the gathering darkness. You're doing the right thing, Linda says. Am I? Or am I just taking the easy way out? Eleanor, there is nothing easy about this. Nothing. Linda's voice is fierce. You're 70 years old. Your body is failing. Continuing the pregnancy could kill you. That's not being selfish. That's being realistic. But what if the baby could have had a good life? What if love would have been enough? Love is never enough. That's the lie we tell ourselves. Love doesn't pay for round-the-clock medical care. Love doesn't grow back missing limbs. Love doesn't keep a 70-year-old woman's blood pressure from killing her. Linda takes Eleanor's hand. You spent your whole life taking care of other people, students, Robert. Now, Caleb. It's okay to take care of yourself. Eleanor wants to believe her, wants to accept that survival isn't selfishness. But late that night, alone in bed while Caleb sleeps downstairs on the couch, Eleanor places both hands on her stomach and whispers, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wanted you. I did. But I'm not brave enough to die for you. The flutter under her hands feels like forgiveness. Or maybe that's just what Eleanor needs to believe to survive the choice she's made. We're at the point of no return. Eleanor's made her decision. But is it really her decision? Or has Caleb been guiding her toward this all along? And what happens after? Because this story isn't over. Not even close. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you still haven't subscribed, I genuinely don't understand you. This is the climax. The moment everything changes. Subscribe now or live with regret. Your choice. Friday arrives wrapped in fog. Eleanor wakes at 5 a.m., the appointment scheduled for 9. She's been instructed not to eat, not to drink. Her body should be empty for what's coming. The irony doesn't escape her. Caleb is already awake. She finds him in the kitchen, making coffee he knows she can't have. For himself, she realizes. Or maybe just for something to do with his hands. Morning, he says softly. Eleanor nods. Can't speak yet. Her throat feels closed. I'll drive you, Caleb says. Linda wanted to come too, but I told her you'd call if you needed her. You told her. Eleanor's voice is rough from sleep and unshed tears. When did you talk to Linda? She called yesterday while you were sleeping. Wanted to make sure you were okay. I said you were resting. He sets down his coffee cup. Was that wrong? Should I not have answered? It's a small thing. Answering her phone. Speaking for her. Making decisions about who has access to her. Small things that have been adding up for months. It's fine, Eleanor says, because she doesn't have energy for this fight. Not today. Not when she's about to. She can't finish the thought. The drive to the clinic takes 30 minutes. Eleanor watches Savannah pass outside her window. Familiar streets, familiar landmarks. Everything exactly as it was yesterday. As if the world should look different when you're on your way to end a life. Even a life that was killing you. Caleb parks in the lot behind the medical building. Reaches over to take her hand. You don't have to do this, he says quietly. We could turn around right now. Drive home. Figure something else out. Eleanor looks at him. Studies his face. Do you want me to? I want you to do what's right for you. That's not an answer. Caleb is silent for a long moment. Then, I want you to live. Whatever that requires, I want you to live. It should feel romantic. Reassuring. Instead, it feels like pressure dressed up as support. Let's go, Eleanor says, opening her door. The clinic smells like antiseptic and artificial vanilla, trying to mask the medical reality with something softer. It doesn't work. Eleanor checks in, signs more forms. A nurse, young, with kind eyes and a name tag reading Jessica, leads her to a private room. You can change into a gown, Jessica says. Dr. Myers will be in shortly to go over everything one more time. Caleb stands to follow. Jessica stops him gently. I'm sorry, sir. This part, is just for the patient. There's a waiting room down the hall. I'd like him to stay. Eleanor hears herself say. Why? She doesn't know. Maybe because alone feels more terrifying than accompanied, even if the company might be the thing that led her here. Jessica glances at Eleanor, then nods. Okay. But sir, you'll need to wait outside during the actual procedure. Of course, Caleb says. Eleanor changes into the gown, flimsy paper that ties in the back and makes her feel exposed, vulnerable. She sits on the exam table, her legs dangling, her 70-year-old body on display in unflattering fluorescent light. Caleb sits in the corner chair, his phone in his hands. Eleanor notices he's typing something. A text, probably. To whom? Who are you texting? She asks. He looks up, and is there guilt in his expression? Or is she seeing suspicion where there's only ordinary distraction? Marcus, Caleb says. He's been asking how you're doing. Has he? Eleanor's voice is flat. He's not all bad, Eleanor. He worries about me. Makes bad assumptions because he's protective. Eleanor doesn't respond. Doesn't point out that Marcus's bad assumptions might be accurate assessments. Doesn't say that protection and complicity aren't always different things. Dr. Myers enters before Eleanor can pursue it further. Eleanor, Dr. Myers says, her voice professionally gentle. How are you feeling? Terrified, Eleanor admits. That's completely normal. Dr. Myers sits on the rolling stool, pulls it close. I want to go over the procedure one more time. Make sure you understand what's going to happen. Eleanor nods. We'll start within 4. Medication to help you relax, manage pain. Then we'll perform a dilation and evacuation. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes. You'll be sedated, but not fully unconscious. Afterward, you'll rest here for a few hours while we monitor your vitals. And then, Eleanor's voice is barely a whisper. Then you go home. Rest. Your body will need time to heal. Physically, you should recover within a few weeks. Emotionally, Dr. Myers pauses. That's different for everyone. Will it hurt? You'll have cramping, some discomfort, but we'll manage the pain. You won't suffer. But Eleanor is already suffering. Has been suffering since the moment she saw those calculations in Caleb's notebook. Since she realized hope might have been manipulation all along. I have to ask one more time, Dr. Myers says. Are you certain this is what you want? Eleanor opens her mouth, closes it, opens it again. I don't want to die, she finally says. I want to live. Then this is the right choice. Dr. Myers stands. I'll be back in a few minutes. The nurse will start her 4. After she leaves, silence fills the room like water. Caleb moves to stand beside the exam table. Takes Eleanor's hand. I love you, he says. I know, Eleanor whispers. But does she know anything anymore? Jessica returns with the 4 card. Small pinch, she says, inserting the needle into Eleanor's arm. Cool liquid begins flowing into her vein. This will help you relax. Eleanor feels it almost immediately. A loosening, a softening of edges. The terror doesn't disappear, but it becomes distant, manageable. I'll see you after, Caleb says, kissing her forehead. He's escorted out by Jessica. Eleanor lies back on the exam table, stares at the ceiling tiles, counts them again like she did during the ultrasound. 1, 2, 3, 4. The medication pulls her under before she reaches 10. Everything that happens next comes in fragments. Dr. Myers' voice, calm and steady. You're doing great, Eleanor. Pressure. Not quite pain, but awareness of something happening inside her body. A mechanical sound. Suction. Then cramping. Sharp and sudden. Eleanor gasps. Almost done, Dr. Myers says. Just breathe. Eleanor breathes. Counts breaths instead of ceiling tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. All finished. Dr. Myers' face appears above her. You did beautifully. We're just going to monitor you now. Eleanor is moved to recovery. A reclining chair in a dim room. Jessica brings her juice and crackers she can't imagine eating. Rest, Jessica says. Take all the time you need. But all the time in the world won't change what just happened. Eleanor closes her eyes and tries not to think about the small flutter she felt 2 nights ago. The movement that proved something was alive inside her. Something that isn't anymore. Because of her. Because she chose survival over sacrifice. Is that strength or cowardice? She doesn't know. Maybe they're the same thing. 2 hours later, Eleanor is clear to go home. Caleb helps her to the car, one hand under her elbow like she's fragile. Maybe she is. Maybe she's been fragile all along and just pretended otherwise. How do you feel? He asks as they drive. Empty, Eleanor says. It's the truest thing she said in weeks. At home, Caleb settles her on the couch with pillows and blankets, brings her water and pain medication, turns on the TV to something mindless, a cooking show where everything is beautiful and nothing has consequences. I'm going to make you soup, he says. Rest. Eleanor nods, closes her eyes, listens to him move through her kitchen like he belongs there. Maybe he does belong there. Maybe everything she suspected is paranoia born of age and fear and the desperate need to blame someone for an impossible situation. Or maybe he's exactly what she thinks he is, and she's too tired to fight anymore. She falls asleep to the sound of chopping vegetables and wakes to darkness. The house is silent. No TV, no cooking sounds, no Caleb moving through rooms. Eleanor sits up slowly, her abdomen cramping. The pain medication has worn off. She needs more, but first she needs to know where Caleb is. She finds him in Robert's study, the nursery that will never be a nursery now, sitting at the desk, his phone pressed to his ear. Telling you it's done, he's saying, his voice low. Yeah, today. No, she's fine. Resting. Eleanor freezes in the doorway. I know. Just give me a few more weeks. Once she's recovered, He stops. Listens. Marcus, I said I'd handle it. Trust me. Eleanor's blood goes cold despite the medication still in her system. Caleb turns, sees her standing there. His expression shifts, surprise, then calculation, then concern. I have to go, he says into the phone. Hangs up quickly. Eleanor, you're awake. Do you need more pain medication? What were you telling Marcus? Her voice is steady despite her shaking hands. Just updating him. He was worried about you. What did you mean? Once she's recovered. Once I'm recovered, you'll what? Caleb stands. Eleanor, you're not thinking clearly. The medication, the procedure, you should be resting. Answer the question. He sighs, runs his hand through his hair. Marcus has been pushing me to move back to Charleston, to his place. Give you space to heal. I told him I consider it once you're recovered. That's all. It could be true. It's plausible enough. But Eleanor has heard too many plausible explanations, has believed too many careful words. I want you to leave, she says. Now. Tonight. Eleanor. Now. Caleb studies her face. Something shifts in his expression, the careful concern falling away, revealing something harder underneath. Colder. Fine, he says quietly. If that's what you want. He doesn't argue, doesn't plead, just goes upstairs, packs a bag, and leaves within 20 minutes. Eleanor watches from the window as his car pulls away, tail lights disappearing into the darkness. She should feel relieved, safe, free. Instead, she feels terrified, because men who are innocent don't leave that easily. They fight. They protest. They try to make you understand. Men who have gotten what they wanted, they leave with quiet efficiency. Eleanor goes to the bathroom, opens the medicine cabinet, finds the bottle of pain medication prescribed after the procedure. Oxycodone. Powerful. Dangerous if taken incorrectly. The seal is broken. Eleanor stops breathing. She didn't take any yet. The nurse gave her 2 pills at the clinic, said to wait until she got home for more. Eleanor came straight to the couch. Fell asleep. Never opened this bottle. But someone did. She counts the pills. 20 prescribed. 18 remaining. 2 missing. Eleanor's hands shake as she reaches for her phone. Calls Linda. Eleanor. Linda answers on the first ring. How are you? How'd it go? Linda. Eleanor's voice cracks. I need you to come over. Right now. And call David Shun. I think, she swallows. I think Caleb just tried to kill me. Think about what we just learned. 2 pills missing. Caleb's phone call about handling it. His easy agreement to leave. What do you think is happening here? Is Eleanor paranoid? Or is she in real danger? Comment now. And seriously, if you're not subscribed yet, you're missing the most crucial part of this story. Hit that button. Right now. Before it's too late. Linda arrives in 15 minutes. David Shun in 30. They sit in Eleanor's living room. Eleanor on the couch, still surrounded by the pillows and blankets Caleb arranged. Linda beside her holding her hand. David in the armchair taking notes. Tell me everything, David says. From the beginning of today. Eleanor does. The procedure. Coming home. Waking to find Caleb on the phone. The missing pills. When she finishes, David is quiet for a long moment. Did you see him take the pills? He asks. No. Do you have any proof he accessed the bottle? Just that it's been opened and 2 pills are gone. David nods slowly. That's concerning, but not conclusive. He could argue you took them and forgot. That the medication makes memory unreliable. That you're emotionally unstable after the procedure and seeing threats where none exist. So, there's nothing we can do. Linda's voice rises with frustration. I didn't say that. David leans forward. Eleanor, I need you to think carefully. Have there been other incidents? Things that seemed off. Accidents that maybe weren't. Eleanor closes her eyes. Thinks back over the past weeks. The soup Caleb brought while she was resting upstairs. How she didn't eat it. How he seemed relieved when she said she wasn't hungry. The vitamins he laid out each morning. How they looked different from the ones she bought herself. How he said the pharmacist must have switched brands. The night she woke up dizzy, nauseous, her heart racing. How Caleb said it was just pregnancy symptoms. How he gave her water and she felt better. Or did she feel better? Or did she just survive? I don't know. Eleanor whispers. I don't know what was real and what I'm imagining. That's what gaslighting does, Linda says fiercely. It makes you doubt everything, including your own experiences. David pulls out his phone. I'm calling Detective Marcus Hale. He specializes in elder abuse cases. We need to report this officially, get on record. Will they investigate? They'll have to, especially with the pattern we've documented. The financial calculations, the isolation tactics, the suspicious incidents. Together, it builds a case. Eleanor feels something loosen in her chest. Not relief exactly, but the recognition that she's not alone. Not crazy. Not imagining threats and shadows. The threats are real. They've been real all along. Detective Marcus Hale arrives an hour later. Late 40s, tired eyes, the bearing of someone who's seen too much human cruelty to be surprised anymore. He takes Eleanor's statement, photographs the pill bottle, asks permission to search the house for other evidence. I need to ask you something difficult, he says, sitting across from Eleanor. The pregnancy. You said it was medically unexplained. Have you considered it might have been intentionally induced? Eleanor's already heard this from David, but hearing it from a detective makes it feel more real, more sinister. The doctors tested me for what they expected to find, but if someone used specific methods, specific timing, those tests wouldn't catch it. Detective Hale pulls out a notepad. Did Caleb Brooks have access to your food and drinks regularly? He lived here. He cooked most meals. And before he moved in, when you were first dating? Eleanor thinks back. We ate together often. He'd bring me coffee sometimes. Or smoothies. He said, she stops. Swallows. He said he wanted to make sure I was taking care of myself. Detective Hale writes something down. Did you notice any changes in your body around that time? Before the pregnancy? Changes in your cycle, your energy, anything unusual? Eleanor tries to remember. It's hard to separate normal aging from abnormal symptoms. I felt more energetic, I suppose. Less of the fatigue I'd had since menopause. I thought it was because I was happy, because I wasn't alone anymore, or because you were being given hormones. Detective Hale says bluntly, fertility drugs can have that effect. Make you feel younger, more vital, especially in postmenopausal women. The room tilts slightly. Eleanor grips the armrest. You're saying he drugged me? For months? To make me pregnant? I'm saying it's a possibility we need to investigate. Detective Hale's voice is gentle but firm. Mrs. Whitmore, pregnancy creates legal ties, parental rights, claims to assets, especially if something happened to you. For someone targeting elderly women for their money, an heir would be very valuable. But the baby, Eleanor's hand moves to her stomach, now empty. The baby had severe disabilities. How would that? I don't know, Detective Hale admits. That's the part that doesn't fit the pattern. Unless, he pauses, unless the disabilities weren't planned. Unless something went wrong with the drugs or the method. Or unless the point was never the baby itself. Then what was the point? You. Detective Hale says simply. Vulnerable. Isolated. Dependent. Making medical decisions under duress. Maybe decisions that would benefit him if something went wrong. Linda makes a sound like a wounded animal. The life insurance. Eleanor, do you have life insurance? Eleanor nods slowly. $500,000. I took it out after Robert died. To cover funeral expenses, debts, whatever my estate might need. Who's the beneficiary? David asks, though his tone suggests he already knows. It was going to be Linda, Eleanor says. But Caleb, her voice trails off. Caleb suggested I change it. Said if something happened to me during pregnancy, the baby should have resources. Should be protected. I changed it 3 weeks ago. Made the baby the beneficiary, with Caleb as trustee. The silence that follows is crushing. So if you had died, David says carefully, in childbirth or from pregnancy complications, Caleb would have controlled $500,000. Detective Hale finishes. As trustee for a child with severe disabilities requiring expensive, ongoing care, he could have mismanaged or falsified money he could have funneled to himself over years. But I didn't die, Eleanor whispers. I terminated the pregnancy. So now you have no baby, no heir, just yourself and your assets. And he's been trying to isolate you, control you, possibly poison you. Detective Hale leans forward. Mrs. Whitmore, I think Caleb Brooks has been running a long-term exploitation scheme. The pregnancy was supposed to make you vulnerable and dependent. The disabilities complicated things, but they also gave him leverage. Who would question a devoted younger man caring for his elderly girlfriend and their disabled child? And when I chose to terminate, he had to adjust his strategy. Maybe accelerate his timeline. Get what he could before you wised up completely. Eleanor feels like she's falling. Like the ground has opened beneath her, and she's tumbling through nothing. I let him into my life, she whispers. Into my home. Into my body. I gave him everything. You trusted someone who presented himself as trustworthy, Linda says fiercely. That's not your fault. That's what predators do. They find good people and exploit their goodness. Detective Hale stands. I'm going to need Mr. Brooks' phone number, email, any correspondence you have, bank statements showing financial transactions, medical records, everything you can give me. And Mrs. Whitmore, he pauses. Don't communicate with him directly. Don't answer calls or texts. Don't meet him anywhere. If he approaches you, call 911 immediately. You think I'm in danger? I think you were in danger and didn't realize it. I think you might still be. After Detective Hale leaves with boxes of evidence, Linda stays. They sit together on the couch, not talking, just existing in the aftermath of revelation. I almost died, Eleanor finally says. And I didn't even know I was being murdered. But you didn't die, Linda says firmly. You're here. You figured it out. You're going to be okay. Am I? Eleanor turns to look at her friend. Linda, I'm 70 years old. I let a man young enough to be my grandson manipulate me, isolate me, possibly drug me, and I didn't see it. I didn't see any of it until it was almost too late. What does that say about me? It says you're human. It says you wanted love and companionship and hope. There's nothing wrong with that. I killed my baby for him. The words come out broken. The pregnancy might have been artificial. The conception might have been against my will. But that baby was real, growing inside me. And I chose to end it because I was scared. Because he made me scared. Eleanor. He controlled everything. What I ate. Who I saw. What I believed about my own body. He made me doubt reality itself. And then, when I was most vulnerable, most desperate, he tried to kill me. Linda pulls Eleanor close, and Eleanor breaks. Sobs rack her body. For the baby that never had a chance. For the months of manipulation she didn't recognize. For the loneliness that made her vulnerable. For the trust that was weaponized against her. I wanted to believe in miracles, Eleanor cries. I wanted to believe something impossible could still happen. That life could still surprise me with joy. It can, Linda whispers. This wasn't the miracle. But you surviving. That's the miracle. You fighting back. You trusting your instincts finally. That's what matters. Eleanor wants to believe her. Wants to find meaning in survival. But right now, all she feels is empty. The baby is gone. Her trust is shattered. Her body feels like a crime scene. And somewhere in Savannah, Caleb Brooks is free. Planning. Adjusting. Finding his next target. Unless Eleanor can stop him. At 2 a.m., Eleanor lies awake in her bed. Linda is sleeping in the guest room, having refused to leave Eleanor alone. Eleanor's phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. You made a mistake. I gave you everything, and you threw it away. But it's not too late. We can still fix this. Together. Eleanor's hands shake as she reads it. Reads it again. Another text. I know you're scared. I understand. But Eleanor, I love you. Everything I did was because I love you. Another. Please don't shut me out. We can get through this. Just answer me. Let me explain. Eleanor should call Detective Hale. Should forward these messages immediately. Instead, she types, "Who is this?" The response is immediate. You know who it is. And you know what we had was real. Don't let them poison that. Don't let them make you afraid of love. You try to kill me. I tried to help you. You were making yourself sick over guilt about the baby. I wanted to help you sleep. That's all. The pills were to help you rest. 2 pills aren't a therapeutic dose. 2 pills are an overdose. You don't understand. You're emotional. Confused. The procedure, the medications, you're not thinking clearly. There it is. The gaslighting. Even now. Even caught. Eleanor types, "Stay away from me." Or what? You'll call the police? Tell them what? That you think I might have done something? That you're suspicious? Eleanor, you don't have proof. You have paranoia fed by people who never wanted us together. He's right. She realizes with sinking horror that he's right. Missing pills. Overheard phone calls. Calculations in a notebook. None of it proves attempted murder. None of it proves anything except that Eleanor is a frightened old woman who let her imagination run wild. I'm blocking this number. Block every number I have. I'll still find ways to reach you. I'll still be here, waiting, when you realize you made a mistake. Eleanor blocks the number, then sits staring at her phone, shaking. Linda appears in the doorway. Eleanor, I heard your phone. Who's texting at 2 a.m.? Eleanor shows her the messages. Linda goes pale. We're calling Detective Hale. Right now. He won't do anything. Caleb's right. We don't have proof. These messages are proof. Harassment. Stalking. Or they're a worried boyfriend checking on his ex who just went through a traumatic procedure. Eleanor sets down her phone. Linda, I'm starting to realize something. Predators like Caleb, they're good at this. They know exactly how far to push. How to stay just inside the boundaries of plausible deniability. How to make their victims doubt themselves even when they know the truth. So what do? Eleanor is quiet for a long moment. Then, we document everything. Every call, every text, every time he shows up. We build a case, so ironclad he can't talk his way out of it. And we wait. Wait for what? For him to make a mistake. Because he will. Eventually, his control will slip. His mask will fall. And when it does, we'll be ready. But as Eleanor lies back down, she can't shake the feeling that waiting might be exactly what Caleb wants her to do. That while she's gathering evidence, he's gathering leverage. That the next move in this game is already planned. And she won't see it coming until it's too late. Here's what I need to know. Do you think Eleanor should wait and document, or act now while she still can? What would you do in her situation? Drop your strategy in the comments. And listen, we're 2 chapters from the end. If you're not subscribed, you're going to miss the conclusion, the resolution, the moment everything either falls apart or comes together. Subscribe now. Don't wait. Just do it. 3 days pass. Then 5. Then a week. No contact from Caleb. No more texts. No calls. Eleanor should feel relieved. Instead, she feels hunted. Maybe he gave up. Linda suggests over coffee in Eleanor's kitchen. Maybe he realized you're onto him and moved on. Or he's planning something. Eleanor says, staring out the window at her garden. Robert's roses need trimming. She should call the service. Should maintain the things that matter. But everything feels temporary now. Borrowed time. Detective Hale calls with updates. We've interviewed Caleb Brooks. He claims the relationship was genuine, that you became paranoid after the procedure, that he left because you asked him to. He's cooperative. Calm. Completely convincing. So you believe him? I didn't say that. I said he's convincing. There's a difference. Detective Hale pauses. Mrs. Whitmore, I need you to understand something. Even if everything you suspect is true, and I think it probably is, proving it will be difficult. He's good at this. Experienced. He knows exactly how to walk the line. So he gets away with it. Not if I can help it. But it might take time. Months. Maybe years. Years. Eleanor doesn't have years. She's 70 years old. Recovering from a trauma her body wasn't built to survive. Every day feels like borrowed time. What about the other women? She asks. The ones in his past. We're tracking them down. So far, we've made contact with 2. Patricia Henderson, you found her profile. is willing to talk. Says Caleb isolated her from her family, managed her finances, convinced her to make him beneficiary of her will. She broke things off when her daughter staged an intervention. And the other? Detective Hale's voice darkens. Rebecca Marsh, 64 years old, dated Caleb 3 years ago, died 6 months into their relationship. Officially ruled a heart attack, but her son always suspected something was wrong. He's asked us to reopen the investigation. Eleanor's blood goes cold. You think he killed her? I think it's worth investigating. If we can prove a pattern, if we can connect his behavior across multiple victims, that builds our case. How long? I told you. Months. Maybe. I don't have months. Eleanor interrupts. Detective, I can feel it. He's out there, planning something. Every day I don't hear from him, I get more scared, not less. Because silence means strategy. Then we need to draw him out. Detective Hale says slowly. Make him make a mistake. Al, you won't like it. Tell me anyway. On October 31st, Halloween, because irony is apparently real, Eleanor posts on Facebook for the first time in 6 weeks. The post is simple. Feeling grateful today. Thank you to everyone who supported me through a difficult time. Recovery is slow but steady. Looking forward to what comes next. She includes a photo Linda took yesterday. Eleanor in her garden, looking thin and tired but alive. Very much alive. The post is bait. Obvious. Desperate. It works. Within 2 hours, Caleb comments, "So glad to hear you're doing better. You look beautiful, as always." Innocuous. Public. Perfectly calibrated to look supportive rather than predatory. Eleanor doesn't respond. That's part of the plan. Show him she's vulnerable, accessible, but not engaging. Make him wonder. Make him worry about losing control. That evening, Eleanor gets a text from a new number. "I saw your post. I'm happy you're healing. I never wanted to hurt you." Eleanor forwards it to Detective Hale. Doesn't respond. Another text. "I miss you. Miss us. Miss what we had before everyone got in your head." Forward. No response. Another. "Can we meet? Just to talk? I promise I just want to make sure you're okay. This is where it gets dangerous." Detective Hale warned her. Meeting Caleb alone would be foolish. But meeting him with surveillance, with backup, with a plan to get him to reveal something incriminating, that might work. Eleanor types. "I don't think it's a good idea." The response is immediate. "Please. I'm begging you. I can't move on until I know you understand. Until you hear me out." Understand what? That I love you. That everything I did was because I love you. That love isn't always gentle, but it's always real. There it is. The confession disguised as romance. The justification that abusers always offer. Eleanor types. "Where?" "Forsyth Park. Where we first met. Tomorrow at noon. Public. Safe. Just 2 people talking." Eleanor sends the messages to Detective Hale. He calls immediately. "This is it," he says. "This is our chance. But Eleanor, you have to understand. We can't guarantee your safety. If he's desperate, if he realizes we're watching. I understand. And you still want to do this." Eleanor thinks about the baby that never got to exist. About the months of manipulation. About Rebecca Marsh, dead at 64. About the next woman Caleb will target if Eleanor doesn't stop him. "Yes," she says. "I want to do this." "Okay, here's how it's going to work." The next day is cold for November in Savannah. Eleanor wears a jacket with a wire sewn into the lining. Detective Hale showed her how it works, how the microphone will pick up everything. "Just get him talking," Detective Hale said. "About the pregnancy. About the pills. About Rebecca. Get him to admit something. Anything." Linda drives Eleanor to the park. "You don't have to do this," she says for the 10th time. "We can find another way." "There is no other way," Eleanor says. "This ends today, or it never ends." Caleb waits on their bench. The same bench where they had their first coffee. Where he charmed her with tomato knowledge and careful vulnerability. He stands when he sees her. Doesn't approach. Just waits. Eleanor walks to him on shaking legs. Sits on the opposite end of the bench. "Thank you for coming," Caleb says. He looks different. Thinner. Tired. Like this has cost him something too. Or like he's performing exhaustion to manipulate her sympathy. Eleanor can't tell anymore. "You said you needed me to understand something," she says. "I need you to understand that I love you. Really love you. Not your money. Not your house. Not some game I'm playing. You." Then why did you calculate my net worth? Why were you getting emails about the long game? Because I was scared, Caleb says. Scared that people would think I was using you. Scared that your friends would convince you I was a predator. So I tried to prove to myself, and to Marcus, that we could make it work financially. That I wasn't dependent on you. It's plausible. It's exactly plausible enough to create doubt. What about the pregnancy? Eleanor asks. Was it really natural? Or did I what? Drug you? Force it somehow? Caleb laughs, but there's no humor in it. Eleanor, I'm not a scientist. I'm not even particularly clever. I'm just a guy who fell in love with someone unexpected. The pregnancy shocked me as much as it shocked you. Then why the phone calls about handling it? Why did you sound relieved when I decided to terminate? Because I was terrified you were going to die. Caleb's voice rises. People nearby glance over. He lowers it again, controlled. Eleanor, your blood pressure was through the roof. You were bleeding. The doctors said you were in danger. Yes, I talked to Marcus about strategies to convince you to choose yourself over the baby. Because I wanted you to live. Is that evil? Is wanting the person you love to survive evil? Eleanor feels her certainty wavering. This is what he does. This is how he works. What about Rebecca Marsh? She asks quietly. Caleb goes very still. What about her? You dated her. 3 years ago. She died 6 months into your relationship. She had a heart attack. She was 64, overweight, high stress. It was tragic but not. He stops. Studies Eleanor's face. You think I killed her? Jesus Christ. Eleanor. You actually think I'm a murderer? Are you? No. Simple. Definitive. Rebecca was a friend. More than a friend. I cared about her. Her death devastated me. The fact that you would even suggest. He stands abruptly. This was a mistake. You're not here to understand. You're here to accuse. He starts to walk away. Eleanor makes a choice. The pills, she calls after him. The missing oxycodone. Explain that. Caleb stops. Turns slowly. And for just a moment, half a second, maybe less, Eleanor sees something flicker across his face. Not anger. Not hurt. Calculation. I took them, he says finally. For myself. I have chronic back pain from an old injury. I didn't want to ask you for them because I was embarrassed. So I took 2 when you were sleeping. I was going to replace them. I'm sorry. You have chronic back pain. Yes. But you've never mentioned it. Never seen a doctor for it while we were together. Never showed any signs of discomfort. Because I manage it well. And because I didn't want you to see me as weak. It's another plausible explanation. Another perfectly calibrated response. But Eleanor notices something. His right hand is clenching and unclenching. A tell. A crack in the performance. Caleb, she says slowly, tell me the truth. Did you love me? Any of it? Or was I just another mark? For a long moment, he doesn't answer. Just stands there, backlit by November sun, his face shadowed. Then he smiles. It's a different smile than she's ever seen before. Not gentle. Not charming. Knowing. Does it matter? He asks softly. Would the truth change anything? You've already decided who I am. The police have already decided. Everyone has decided. So what difference does my answer make? It matters to me. Why? So you can have closure? So you can feel justified in turning against me. He steps closer. Eleanor forces herself not to retreat. Eleanor, I'll tell you one truth. Everything I did with your consent. You let me into your life. Into your home. Into your bed. You changed your will. You trusted me with your healthcare decisions. Whatever happened, good or bad, you participated in it. I was manipulated. You were willing, he corrects. There's a difference. I never forced you to do anything. I suggested. I supported. I was there. But every choice you made, that was yours. It's victim blaming wrapped in philosophy. Eleanor recognizes it. But part of her, the part that still doubts, that still wonders if she's imagining threats, hears truth in it too. So you admit you manipulated me, she says, holding on to that small concession. I admit I recognized what you needed and provided it. Is that manipulation? Or is that just being a good partner? It's both, Detective Hale's voice says behind them. And it's over. Caleb turns, sees Detective Hale approaching with 2 uniformed officers. Mr. Brooks, Detective Hale says, we'd like you to come to the station. Answer some questions about Rebecca Marsh. About several other women you've been involved with. About some interesting patterns we've noticed. Am I under arrest? Not yet. But that depends on how cooperative you are. Caleb looks at Eleanor. For the last time, she sees both versions of him. The gentleman who held her through nightmares, and the predator who created those nightmares. You're making a mistake, he tells her. But you'll realize that eventually, when you're alone again, when you remember what it felt like to be seen, to be wanted. Then he turns to Detective Hale. I'll come voluntarily. I have nothing to hide. They lead him away. Eleanor watches until he disappears into the police car. Linda appears beside her. You okay? Eleanor thinks about that question. Is she okay? Is any part of this okay? I survived, she says finally. That's something. But as they walk back to Linda's car, Eleanor can't shake Caleb's final words. You'll realize that eventually, because part of her, the lonely part, the part that wanted miracles, wonders if he's right. If she'll regret this. If she'll wake up one day and miss the man who might have been destroying her. That's what trauma does. Makes you doubt even your own survival. Was Eleanor right to do this? Or did she just destroy the last chance at love she'll ever have? I know what I think, but I want to hear from you. Comment now. And if you still haven't subscribed after following Eleanor's entire journey, I literally don't know what to tell you. Subscribe. You need to see how it ends. 3 months later, Eleanor stands in the nursery. She's finally stopped calling it that, started calling it Robert's study again, packing away the last traces of what might have been. A baby-named book, dog-eared at pages she'll never need. Pregnancy journals with entries that stop abruptly mid-November. Information packets about limb differences and adaptive equipment and specialized care. Evidence of a future that never happened. Linda helps her pack it into boxes. You sure you want to keep this stuff? She asks. Eleanor hesitates, her hand on the baby-named book. I don't know. Part of me thinks I should burn it all. Erase every trace. But it happened. The pregnancy, the hope, the fear, all of it happened, even if Caleb orchestrated some of it. That baby existed. Briefly. Impossibly. But existed. And you're allowed to grieve that, Linda says gently, regardless of how it started. Eleanor nods. Places the book in the box. Seals it with packing tape. Have you heard anything? Linda asks. About the investigation? Detective Hale calls weekly. They've connected Caleb to 4 other women over the past decade. 2 are willing to testify about financial abuse. Rebecca Marsh's case has been reopened. They're exhuming her body, testing for toxins. Jesus. And they found something interesting in my medical records. Evidence of synthetic hormones in my blood work from 6 months ago. Right around when I would have conceived. The levels were subtle, but they were there. Linda goes pale. So he did drug you. He did cause the pregnancy. Probably. Though proving he administered the drugs versus me, taking them unknowingly, that's harder. His lawyer argues I could have been self-medicating, wanting pregnancy so badly I induced it myself without realizing. That's insane. It's plausible doubt. That's all he needs. Eleanor closes another box. The DA thinks they have enough to charge him with elder abuse, financial exploitation, possibly attempted murder for the oxycodone. But conviction? That's uncertain. What do you think will happen? Eleanor sits on the edge of the desk, Robert's desk, where he used to grade papers, and where Caleb once sat calculating her worth in dollars and cents. I think he'll probably get away with most of it, she says honestly. He's too good, too careful. He knows exactly where the lines are and how to stay just inside them. Maybe he'll face some charges. Maybe he'll serve a year or 2. But then he'll get out, find a new target, and do it all over again. That's not justice. No, Eleanor agrees. It's not. But justice and legal outcomes aren't always the same thing. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. I hope you're happy. You destroyed something beautiful because you let fear control you. Eleanor shows Linda. He's been doing this for weeks. New numbers every time I block him. Never threatening enough to violate the restraining order. Just reminding me he's out there. Thinking about me. Have you told Detective Hale? Every time. He says it's harassment, but not prosecutable. Caleb's smart about it. Never crosses the line far enough to add charges. Linda takes the phone, reads the message again. He's trying to make you doubt yourself. Even now. I know. Eleanor takes the phone back, blocks the number. But Linda? Sometimes I do doubt. Sometimes I lie awake and wonder if I overreacted. If my fear and paranoia turned a flawed relationship into a criminal conspiracy. Eleanor, I know what you're going to say. That the evidence speaks for itself. That the pattern with other women proves his intentions. And intellectually, I believe that. But emotionally, she touches her abdomen, still tender 3 months later. Emotionally, I keep thinking about the baby, about the future I imagined, and I wonder if I gave up too easily. If I should have fought harder to keep it, you would have died. Maybe. Or maybe my blood pressure would have stabilized. Maybe we would have found solutions. Maybe, she stops. Breathes. I'm doing it again. Second guessing. That's what he wants. That's how he maintains control, even from a distance. So what do? How do you move forward? Eleanor is quiet for a long moment. Then, I tell the truth. To anyone who'll listen. I make sure the next woman knows what to look for. How to recognize the warning signs. How to trust her instincts when everyone tells her she's overreacting. She pulls out her laptop, opens a blank document. What are you doing? Linda asks. Writing it down. All of it. Everything that happened. Every manipulation. Every red flag I ignored. Every moment I should have trusted myself, but didn't. For the investigation. For the next Eleanor Whitmore. The next lonely woman who thinks she's found a miracle and doesn't realize she's found a predator. Eleanor starts typing. I can't stop Caleb, but I can make sure his next victim has information, has warning, has a chance I almost didn't get. Linda reads over her shoulder as Eleanor writes. The story pours out. Meeting at the farmer's market, the whirlwind romance, the impossible pregnancy, the scans that revealed disability, the choices made under duress. The truth, ugly and complicated and entirely hers to tell. I'm going to publish this, Eleanor says. Everywhere I can. Blog it. Post it. Send it to elder abuse prevention organizations. Make sure his name is associated with this story, so the next time someone searches for him, they find this. He'll sue you. Let him. Truth is a defense. And I've documented everything. Eleanor keeps typing. Besides, what else can he take from me? He already took my trust. My body's autonomy. My chance at the miracle I thought was happening. What's left? Your peace of mind. I lost it the day I met him, but I can get it back by making sure his power over me ends here. Today, with this story, the doorbell rings. Both women freeze. Expecting anyone, Linda whispers. Eleanor shakes her head, moves to the window, peers out. A delivery truck. Just a delivery truck. A package on the porch. She laughs at herself, at her fear. I'm jumping at shadows. That's normal. Trauma does that. Eleanor retrieves the package. No return address. Just her name, perfectly printed. Inside is a single item, a tomato, Cherokee purple, just like the ones from the farmer's market 6 months ago. And a note, in handwriting she recognizes, beautiful things always come back, whether you're ready or not. Eleanor's hands shake as she shows Linda. We're calling Detective Hale, Linda says, already reaching for her phone. This is escalation. This is threat. But Eleanor is staring at the tomato. Perfect, ripe, red-purple skin catching the light. The first tomato she dropped that Saturday morning. The moment that changed everything. Returned to her now as a promise. Or a warning. Either way, it means Caleb isn't done with her. Maybe he'll never be done. That night, Eleanor publishes her story. She posts it everywhere. Facebook, blog sites, forums for elder abuse survivors. She uses her real name. Caleb's real name. Every detail she can verify. Within hours, the comments start. This same man targeted my mother. Thank you for speaking out. I knew something was off about him. Thank you for validating my instincts. This happened to my aunt. She didn't survive to tell her story. Thank you for telling yours. Comment after comment. Story after story. Pattern after pattern. Caleb Brooks has been doing this for over a decade. Targeting older women. Creating dependency. Extracting resources. Moving on when things got complicated. Rebecca Marsh wasn't the first to die. She was the third. Eleanor reads through the night, piecing together a timeline of destruction, building a case from collective testimony that individual victims couldn't build alone. By morning, the post has been shared 10,000 times. By noon, a reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution calls wanting an interview. By evening, Detective Hale calls with news. The DA is filing additional charges. Elder abuse across multiple victims. Pattern of predatory behavior. Your story, what you published, that's what broke it open. Women who were too scared to come forward before are talking now. Will it be enough? To convict? Yes. To give him the sentence he deserves? That's up to the jury. But Eleanor, you did this. You stopped him. After hanging up, Eleanor sits in the dark living room of the house she shared with Robert for 43 years. The house she almost lost to a predator who saw her loneliness as opportunity. Her phone buzzes. Another unknown number. You won. Are you happy now? Does destroying me make you feel powerful? Eleanor reads it. Doesn't respond. Blocks the number. Another text. Different number. I loved you. That was real. You'll never know how real. Block. Another. The baby would have been beautiful. We could have been a family. Block. Another. You'll die alone. You know that, right? No one will want you now. The crazy old woman who ruined a man's life because she couldn't accept love. This one Eleanor responds to. I'd rather die alone than live as someone's mark. And I'm not alone. I have friends who see me. Really see me. Not as a bank account or an opportunity. As a person. That's more than you'll ever have. She sends it. Blocks the number. Powers off her phone. In the silence that follows, Eleanor realizes something. She's not afraid anymore. Cautious, yes. Aware of danger, absolutely. But not afraid. Because she survived. She recognized the threat. She fought back. Eleanor, no. That's not how biology works. Disabilities aren't punishment. They're just things that happen. Random. Meaningless beyond the fact that they happened. But if Caleb induced the pregnancy with drugs, if he manipulated my hormones, could that have caused the abnormalities? Maybe. Or maybe not. Or maybe there was no pregnancy at all. Maybe that was fabricated too. We'll never know for sure. Eleanor thinks about this. About the ultrasound images. About the small flutter she felt. About the baby she terminated to save her own life. Real or manufactured, it felt real to her. And that grief is valid regardless of the circumstances that created it. I need to forgive myself, Eleanor says quietly. For all of it. For trusting Caleb. For not seeing the signs. For ending the pregnancy. For surviving when I could have let it kill me. You don't need to forgive yourself for any of that. Linda says firmly. You were manipulated by an expert. You made impossible choices with the information you had. You survived. Those things don't require forgiveness. They require acknowledgement. Acknowledge what? That you're human. That you're brave. That you deserve better than what he gave you. After they hang up, Eleanor sits alone with those words. You deserve better. Does she? She's 70 years old. Widowed. Betrayed. Traumatized. But alive. Still here. Still capable of choosing her own path. That has to count for something. Eleanor stands, walks to her computer, opens the document she started writing 6 months ago. The story of her exploitation. Her survival. Her truth. She scrolls to the end. Types one final section. I don't know if telling this story will prevent it from happening to someone else. I don't know if Caleb Brooks will serve his full sentence or get out early for good behavior. I don't know if the scars he left, psychological, emotional, physical, will ever fully heal. But I know this. I survived. I recognized the danger. I asked for help. I told the truth. And in a world that often silences victims, that often questions whether exploitation really happened, that often suggests we brought on ourselves, my voice matters. Your voice matters. If you're reading this because you suspect someone is manipulating you, trust that instinct. If you're reading this because you've already escaped, know that survival is enough. You don't have to forgive your abuser. You don't have to understand their motivations. You don't have to wonder if maybe you overreacted. You survived. That's the miracle. Not the impossible pregnancy. Not the hope that someone could love you despite the age difference. Not the belief that this time would be different. The miracle is you, still here, still fighting, still refusing to let someone else decide what your life is worth. Because here's the final question this story asks. If someone decides a life is too difficult to exist, who gave them that authority? And the answer is, no one. No one has that authority over your life, but you. I chose to end a pregnancy that was killing me. That was my choice. My authority. Caleb Brooks tried to end my life for his convenience. That was attempted murder. Not mercy. Not love. Murder. Know the difference. It might save your life. Eleanor publishes the update, closes her laptop, turns off all the lights. In the darkness of her house, her home, her sanctuary, her space that's finally just hers, Eleanor Whitmore lies down to sleep. And for the first time in 9 months, she doesn't dream of tomatoes or lost babies or young men with calculated smiles. She dreams of roses, growing wild, untended, beautiful anyway, just like her. So here's my final question for you. What's the real moral of this story? Is it about trusting your instincts? About the dangers of loneliness? About how predators operate? Or is it about something deeper? About who gets to decide what life is worth living and who profits from making those decisions for others? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This story matters, and your interpretation matters. And if you made it all the way to the end without subscribing, I have to ask, what are you waiting for? Real stories like Eleanor's happen every day. The only way to protect yourself and others is to stay informed, stay aware, stay connected. Subscribe now. Share this story. Make sure it reaches someone who needs to hear it. Because the next Eleanor Whitmore might be someone you know. Or it might be you. Don't wait until it's too late.